and welcome to the Gooner Ramble podcast. On today's discussion, we'll be talking about Arsenal's 4-0 victory over Watford on Saturday, how the team deals with pressure. We'll be touching on doping in football, or Wenger's comments about doping in football, and also answering listeners' questions. Joining me to talk about that and everything Arsenal are regular Clive, fresh from seeing windy Stoke it up England's arse. How you doing, mate?
Champion.
Are you doing that? Are you doing that dance that they were doing the other day?
Well, yeah, I'm not one for moving around too quickly, right? But let me tell you, I got to empty cricket out of my head to talk about football, right? So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, in between the sips of rum, and also joining us today is Jazz AFC. How you doing, Jazz? You all right, mate?
All right, Giles, how you doing, mate?
Not too bad. I take it you enjoyed the cricket as well.
Yeah, definitely. Not too much of a fan, but it's really been an interesting tournament.
Indeed. All right, let's crack on with the football. 4-0 win over Watford, exacting revenge for our FA Cup defeat couple of weeks ago. I want to ask you both. I'll start with you, Jazz. Just tell me what you thought impressed you most about today's victory.
It's just the way we really kicked on from the Everton game. We kept like that same tempo, that same pressure. We started brightly. Obviously, we got that early goal, and obviously, Iwobi and Welbeck, that seems to be the common theme now this last few weeks and these results. And I think there's like a very good partnership forming between those two, and I think basically just keeping that up over the next few weeks, that could be the little gem that we're really looking at.
There's a lot of good, strong. There's been a lot of quite a few good, strong partnerships forming in these last few weeks. You look at Gabriel and Koscielny seem to be, getting a lot better, understand each other a lot better nowadays, and also the midfield two of Coquelin and El Nene. How do you see that one developing in these last few weeks, Jez?
Yeah, basically, I think Arsene Wenger really lost his patience with Mertesacker. Those two games, I think it was Barcelona and the home game. I think he really, after that one, I think that was a breaking point. Obviously, he had a hand in the two goals that we conceded. And then, obviously, Gabriel coming in, he had the tough game at Old Trafford. But since then, I think he's really settled into the team. I think Clive mentioned it a few times. He just needed a bit of time to settle into the team. And now I think he's formed a good partnership with Koscielny.
Good stuff. All right, Clive, let me bring you in. What impressed you most with Saturday's 4-0 victory?
Right, well, you know me, right? I'm a right football geek, right? So I went to the game Saturday, so I get into the grounds like really early to sort of watch them warm up. And what I'm really looking for is real partnerships. So I'm looking to see who gets on with who. Sometimes we watch a game on telly, you can see the pattern, you can see the shape. But what you really miss is what I call relationships, right? So, I like the team. The team almost picks itself. I'm a big believer in, having proper running footballers that don't encourage people by their lack of athleticism. So I was pleased with the team. Pleased Gabriel started. Iwobi picks himself. Welbeck picks himself. He was looked after by Roy Hodgson, so he was able to play. And, I liked it. It's a nice sunny day. It was beautiful. You're thinking, Watford can't be as intense as they were when they played us in the cup game. And Arsenal just played. But what I really liked about them, and what I really liked about the introduction of Coquelin and El Nene together, Iwobi, Sanchez and Welbeck up front, you've got this little pocket. You've got this little front six that's really, really does not encourage anyone to play with them. They can all play, they can all run, they can all move, they can all receive it anywhere they like. They're one touch, two touch, touch round the corner. I just love what they're doing. And of course, when you're looking at the back line, I always look at the right channel, and now the right channel's suddenly become our strongest channel. You've got Bellerin, you've got Sanchez, and you've got Gabriel, equally as strong as, Monreal, Koscielny, and Iwobi. And you just got us all floating around, connecting and just gluing it all together. And you're looking at it and you're thinking, oh, wow, this is really nice. But you can't help but feel a little bit frustrated by the fact that it's come a little bit too late, maybe.
Jazz, we created a high number of chances, and especially in relation to our high amount of possession. To me, it seemed like the players, there was a lot of skill on the ball yesterday. There was a lot of good, short, zippy passing, and it created a lot of lanes. The early goal was very, very important, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a stat like we've averaged something like 25 shots per game the last few weeks. So I think just getting that efficiency. So obviously with that early goal with Alexis, that kind of set the tempo for the rest of the game. I don't know whether it's in training or something, but we seem to be a little more efficient cutting through the teams. Obviously against Everton and yesterday against Watford. We look like a little bit sharper in front of goal. I don't know whether that's a change of personnel with Giroud out and Welbeck coming in, but it just seems like everyone's a little bit sharper, a little more zippier, and obviously that's a problem's cause for the opposition.
Clive, what do you think about Wenger seems to have belatedly gone with right footers in the right channel and left footers in the left channel? I mean, obviously Iwobi can play on both feet from what I could tell, but he seems just as comfortable on the left, which means it's comfortable for us to play Sanchez on the right. He did it also later in the game. He played Walcott on the right and he played Campbell on the left. I mean, what do you think of that sort of him actually belatedly adopting that sort of system now, that style now, or that approach?
I think he's probably looked at Alexis's output, right? Because Alexis has become quite predictable, and he's quite an unpredictable player. But everyone watches him. His impact to the league last year was really big. So what do you think teams are going to do? They're going to study him. They're going to watch what he does off one touch, two touch, and we all know how he plays. We've got used to him now. And he tends to, have a little shake and bake, and he dinks inside, and we all know it. And teams are reading him, they're blocking him, they're dispossessing him. And by moving to the right-hand side, I think he becomes an unknown quantity again. And I think it's really, really, our right side's been a problem. And suddenly Alexis is playing there, and it's fixed. So, but of course what the real bonus is Iwobi's coming on the left, and he's almost playing like Ramsey plays the wide playmaker role from the left. He's very mobile. He receives it on the half turn really well. His decision making is good. But okay, he's 19, right? I mustn't get too excited. But what he has got is what I call real drive. He can drive away from you with the ball. He can run away from you. And the fact he threatens you around the sides, threatens you in behind when he wants to, that makes you play against him differently. You can't dive in. His touch is good. His head is up. He plays with a straight back. And then he says, you know what, if you come to me, I'm going to take you on as well, and I can run around you. I'll tell you what, I did watch him in the warm-up, actually. I went to have a close look at him, see what he looked like live. And he's a unit. He's really got broad shoulders. He's got the biggest shorts in the squad, without a doubt. Big old backside there. He wants contact. He wants to feel you, and then he rolls you. And then if you come near him, he says, get off, get off me, get on the weight, son. You're not coming off near me. And then he pushes you off. I'm thinking, wow, he's 19. He's got shoulders like anything. I'm looking at him going, well, that is interesting. I still want to pull his socks up, right? But that's just me. I'm an old man. But his potential is huge. His potential, when he's older, to come into a central position and really dominate. As you physically always, you develop physically post-19. So, we've got a player there. We really have got a player. And it's interesting how Watford reacted. They really did drop. Similar to the cup game, they dropped in. But they had no encouragement because we screened off Igalo a lot better, screened off Dini a lot better. Where could they go? They're not going to run Gabriel. They're not going to run anybody back there. And so they were discouraged. They stayed in their deep block, and we just enjoyed ourselves.
Clive, the early goal upset their rhythm, didn't it? It upset their game plan. They had to. I mean, it was torn to shreds. Unlike the quarter-final game where we couldn't, although we started, quickly, we couldn't score a goal. It upset their game plan. It allowed us to become more confident and playing out more of a rhythm. Did you think?
Yeah, we were confident anyway, I felt. And again, we just did what Arsenal do. We looked relaxed. The pressure was off. And, I mean, Giles, you were there, right? It was all, we were winning that game. We were winning that game from 2:00 why we were winning that game. We all knew it. But then the sort of football that we played, it just frustrated me almost. It really did. It was bordering on annoying. It was that good. There was some 1-2 combinations there, and then he was playing with Ozil and Sanchez. They were doing 1-2s like 4, 5, 6 at a time. And their confidence and on the ball and their technique on the ball. Actually, it made me mad. It made me mad because I just kept thinking back to Swansea and I kept thinking back to Old Trafford. I just can't get those games out of my head about our no-show. And yesterday only goes to really show how talented we are. And then when that game finished, we went to the pub and we watched the Spurs game. And we just watched two teams that are meant to be the next big thing, the new firm. Mate, there was no football there. That was 2 touch. You have it for 2 touches. We have it 2 touches.
It wasn't even like you have it. It was like miscontrol. It was terrible football. The quality was we were saying, weren't we? The quality was actually poor. The quality on the show was actually very poor.
The quality was poor, and these are meant to be the next big things. And their technique was poor. Their body position was poor. The ball retention was poor. You know, I call it retain. You know, your ability to regain the ball and then retain it for 2-3 passes to build play, not there. People just playing percentage crosses into fight balls. People just trying to tackle, you know, press hard and then play off people's mistakes. There was no bravery to build. There were some highlight goals, great goals, but I'm looking at that quality, and I know we played a weakened, you know, maybe distracted Watford.
Yeah.
But you look at our quality, and you got to say to yourself, how annoying is that? It is annoying what we're doing. And I can't get that emotion out of my head, to be honest.
Jazz, bring you back in. Wengerball was on great display yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I don't know whether if they went back in time, like to January, they'd consider changing personnel a bit quicker. I don't know whether keeping Flamini and Walker in the team for so long and persisting with them hurt us a bit, especially those United and Swansea games.
Hindsight's a great thing, but do you think, because he was saying that, you know, it won't be knocking on him all season.
Yeah.
Watching him in training all year, all season, you know, he'd bring him on for 2 minutes, 30 seconds and whatnot. Hindsight's a great thing, but do you think he could have brought him in maybe earlier in the piece?
Strange one, really. I think it kind of reached the point where Walker was having little no effect at all, so it kind of it just became silly to even put his name on the team sheet. And I think at that point, then the Everton game came around, and I think it just kind of forced at that point. And since then, we've really flourished, especially with El Neni and Coquelin. I think we've yet to concede a Premier League goal with those two in the midfield. Yep. So even at the back, coming forward, we finally got an outlet for the front six to kind of push on now. Especially with those two holding in midfield, it really gives Ozil and Alexis a lot more freedom. A lot less of them dropping deep and trying to come in for the ball. A lot more of their work now is further up the pitch, and it gives them a bit more freedom to express themselves.
Absolutely great points, Clive, wouldn't you?
Oh, mate, don't get me started, right? Let's not. I may have mentioned this a few times before about our centre midfield. You've only got to watch El Neni walk out onto the pitch, and he just says to you, I'm a centre midfielder, and I'm going to control this area. And you've now got to run with me. You've got to try and dispossess me. But every time you try and close me down, I'm going to touch it off first time. When you don't close me down, I'm going to drive 5 yards and then knock it off. So what are you going to do? If you try and run me, I'm going to run with you. I'm going to intercept you. I'm going to front foot you. I'm going to prowl you. I'm going to be all over you. And you're not, and then I'm going to outrun you again. And what you do then is you drop in. You think, I can't run with him, so I'm going to drop away from him and hope he plays safe. But he doesn't play safe. He turns it around the corner quickly. I mean, honestly, people got to realise football is not about when it's just on the ball. It's about what happens off the ball. And if you ever watch a player or scout a player, you're literally watching. You might have the ball for maybe, 3 minutes in a game. A lot more of the game is what you do off of it. And off the ball, those two control the centre of the pitch. And they give the team confidence. I always look at the two in centre mid and the two centre halves. And if I don't see a weakness, I'm okay. Because then we can play rubbish. But if we're not getting done down that little gap there, we can recover, we don't concede, and when we find our offensive creativity, and then we're okay. We're not doing it from 1-2 goals down. It's very, very simple, and I've been moaning about. It's not. I've been moaning about the Ramsey situation, centre mid, and the Flamley situation. I'm not the only one. Maybe I did see it quite quickly. I'm not the only one, and it's so obvious now. It's absolutely obvious. And how do you feel when you're watching the game? We were talking yesterday, Giles, about emotion when you're watching football. Fans are not stupid. They know what they're looking at, and they all feel better. But I keep coming back to it, I can't feel a little bit frustrated about how we found this balance a bit too late.
We'll come back to that point. Jazz, Coquelin, El Neni were two of the top three passes yesterday. El Neni had a league high, am I right? 127 passes in the game.
Yeah, that's right.
And Coquelin came in third behind Ozil with 89. So, as you were saying, as a first receiver, the defense didn't seem to trust him. You know, the other players seem to trust El Neni. Coquelin seems to be more confident, more comfortable in his company. We talked about, I think me and you have talked about in the past, Jazz, about how, you know, sometimes Coquelin needs Santi to hang. Yeah. But it didn't seem to be that much of the case yesterday. I mean, I saw Coquelin pinging balls diagonally left, long balls, through balls. He seemed to be controlling, as Clive said, controlling his space. Go on.
Yeah, sorry. I think basically there's been a bit of a criticism saying that those two in midfield doesn't offer us enough creatively. But I think when you've got two players like that just sitting there, and they both share that responsibility, one will drop deep, one will come forward. And you've seen yesterday that Coquelin does have a good range of passing, which most people wouldn't have you believe. And El Neni the same. He combines really well with those players on the right hand side. I think when you've got that midfield pair sorted, you only need those four players in front to do their job, and that offers you more than enough creatively, I think.
Good stuff. I believe Sanchez got man of the match. Just how pleasing was it to see him score his first goal for a long time? Set up. I mean, he had a hand in three of the four goals. Just how pleased was it for you, Jazz, to see him playing with the freedom and without pressure and confidence again?
Yeah, basically there was a lot of people when they're calling for him to get dropped, maybe take some time out of the team, but I think persisting with him, and maybe that change to the right hand side has done him a lot of good. I think that's where he started last season, where he had that good goal scoring run. And basically, he just seems comfortable. There's a good understanding with Bellerin. Also with Welbeck coming in, I think he looks a lot more comfortable with a mobile striker in front of him than with Giroud. And really, just when there's a lot more movement around him, I think that gives him a lot more joy to just come inside to combine with players. And it just started to show now. He's got the assist last week at Everton, and then obviously the goal and assist this week. So he's really coming to form again at the right time.
Clive, you know, the leap was prodigious. It reminded me of the early days, seeing him in the early days in the Arsenal shirt. His leap is absolutely prodigious, you know, and he had the awareness to follow it up after great work by Iwobi. Then he returns to compliment coming down the right. He had a pre-assist. I think he was involved in the third goal, laying it off for I think it was, I don't know if it was Bellerin or whatever. But he just seems, I mean, are you happy that Wenger sort of like played him until he actually played into form?
Yeah, he didn't have much choice. I must admit, I didn't think the right side was his best side, but actually it is his best side. And I saw some statistics in his last season at Barcelona where he took a lot of his shots from. They were all from the right side.
They were, yeah.
Yeah, and he played a lot on the left, but he still got his shots off on the right. It's interesting, as the game kicked off yesterday, it was interesting that straight away, you know, Iwobi and Welbeck connected on the left, and basically Sanchez and Ozil connected on the right. Almost immediately, they just moved into those positions straight away. And it was just like, there's your partnerships developing. You know, and I tell you, we look really balanced, really, really balanced. And the good thing about Iwobi coming in is that he looks like an Arsenal football player. And the way he manipulates the ball, the way he handles the ball, the way he passes the ball, he's just got all the attributes. And yeah, he's 19, so he won't play every minute of every game. But they're the sort of players that we want to be seeing in this Wenger team, in this style. It's quite interesting, actually. I'm not sure if you're going to come onto it, Giles, but I'm going to speak about him anyway. But when Walcott came on, I know he scored a goal, But people around me yesterday, they were laughing at him. They were laughing at his lack of technical ability. They were laughing at where he ran. They were laughing at how he marked himself. They were laughing, saying they were mocking him, and that's not good. That really isn't good. I want him to succeed. He's having a bad run. He's really low in confidence. But I don't want to see people laughing at our players, and that maybe that's the atmosphere at the ground. I hadn't really, I don't go all the time, but when I do, I sort of really listen. It's like we haven't seen a young nephew, and he's grown. You can really see things when you haven't seen him for a long time. I really noticed how the crowd were mocking him, and I may not be 100% a super fan of him, but I won't mock him. He's an Arsenal player. I think that's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, who did he come on for? Was it Iwobi? Who did he come on for? It might have been Iwobi, actually. Yeah, I think it was Iwobi. And it was quite interesting, the reception that Iwobi got. Obviously, a great game again. And the reception that Theo got. And then after his first touch was to give the ball away. And I noticed people around me like, oh, Theo, like sort of thing. And I don't know, we can't speak for 60,000 fans or 58,000 fans. We don't know what they're talking about outside the game, but it just seems that, a lot of people have had enough of him.
Yeah, I think he's really lost some people this year.
Yeah.
I think the whole 10-year thing actually wasn't good for him. He's actually reminded us all how long he's been there, and we still talk about him as a young kid with potential. He's 26. He's our second, third, whatever people want to believe, highest paid player.
He's our longest serving player as well.
He's our longest serving player. And he hasn't done enough. And that's the truth of it, right? We can make as many excuses as we like. He hasn't done enough. And maybe what's happening down the road at Spurs and seeing some of their young English players come in, and they're doing it. And they're doing it now. We can question their quality. We can question if we like them or not. But we can't disguise the fact that they are delivering. And then and Theo maybe is the one that Wenger has trusted the most, put the most work into. And he had some games at some critical times when it was his time to pay back the manager. And he disappeared. And I just think people are not having it no more. They're just not prepared to, say, oh, don't worry, he'll come next year. No way. And I'm not going to say they're wrong, right? We pay a lot of money to these players, and if you want top dollar, you've got to do the business. And if you don't do the business, you suffer the price.
I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's not good to see one of our own players getting. I don't know if ritual is the right word, but you think of similarities. Obviously, Aguero was far more extreme, but you don't like hearing it. I mean, I'm not Theo's biggest fan, but I'm not going to boo him. I'm not going to ridicule him. I'm not going to cuss him out. I did cuss him out at Old Trafford that day, but I'm not really prone to doing that. Jazz, Theo, it's taken him, I mean, since, I don't know, Man City, I mean, he's not really shown up. I mean, he showed up against Liverpool. He scored a goal against Leicester City, the equaliser. He scored a goal again on Saturday. What do you do with a problem like Theo? Do you think now he's kind of worried about his position, his place in the pecking order? Because Wenger's not picking on hierarchy for that right-hand side no more, is he?
It seems, I think he only performs when maybe he's got a contract for these positions under threat, so hopefully we'll start seeing more of the old year, maybe of like the 2012, 2013, when he was scoring regularly, he was playing well regularly. But I think since that Man City game, he's really, he'll either give you a 9 out of 10 or he'll give you a 4 out of 10 performance, really. And if he's not playing well, you would not even see him on the pitch. You look for him, you would find him. So I think that's where a lot of the frustration stems from. I think a lot of fans have lost it with him. I don't think they'll ever come back and support him. So I think his position really is under threat, especially with the youngsters coming through now. This next season could probably be his last.
Let me ask you both. When he was really on fire, he had a player like Robin van Persie in front of him, who was a brilliant striker. I don't care what people think of him. He was a brilliant striker. Not the greatest, not the quickest pace, but he had it up there and he had the technique. He carried us 30 goal seasons. Do you think that Theo might have suffered playing with strikers of a legacy? as well as the fact that Wenger's played him on the left and whatnot. But do you think, and you know, he's had injuries at times, but do you think he's suffered from that? I'm going to bring you in, Clive. What do you think to that, though?
No, I think I'm not prepared to make any excuses for him anymore, mate, to be honest. I think he's had everything laid up for him. He's been, you know, he's played a lot of his football on the right, and I still think he's a right forward. He's just almost like a second forward from the right-hand side. That's his best position. He spent some time on the left, and he did a decent job. If anything, I think that's dulled his attacking instincts. I don't think he's as sharp or as quick as he was. He's become an all-round player. I just don't think he's developing in the same way. I just don't think he's developing. But more importantly, he's not developing as a personality or a young man. I think he looks just as young, just as naive, just as immature as he's always looked. And after 10 years, long-serving player in the club, you'd hope he would have a bit of gravitas about him, a bit of leadership, a bit of maturity, a bit of character. But he's not showing any of that, which is just not improving. He's just hit a plateau. And for me, it's really time to look at him as a saleable asset. There's nothing wrong.
You think he's a saleable asset as it stands now?
I do think he's a saleable asset. I think he's 26. I don't look at him. I used to think, oh, I don't want Theo going at Liverpool. What if he goes there and he turns out to be brilliant? But what is brilliant? Right? You know, just think about that for a second. What is brilliant? He has some decent moments in games, but they're fleeting. I'm prepared to risk it. I'm prepared to risk it to use that money to reinvest into areas that we need to reinvest in, right? So I'm not afraid of his top game anymore. I don't think it's just because he used to be. It's just half a step slower. I'm not saying he's slow, right? He still beat me in a race, right? But I'm not saying he's slow. But he's just not quite as devastating as he used to be. And I think now you've got to pick a moment, right? And if someone came in from him, I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's one of our top 4 rivals. Also, to be fair to him, maybe he needs a change of environment as well, right? It's 10 years, his boy turned into a man at the club. Maybe a change of environment for him would be good for him, right? It's all a bit easy at Arsenal. It's all a bit nice. It's all a bit easy, and he epitomises the crush mentality for me. And I think if we're serious, we need to change that mentality. And I think he is a totem pole for our weak mentality. And I'm afraid I'm looking at him and I'm saying, okay, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if you were moved, because it sends a message out to the rest of the squad to say we're not prepared to accept that anymore.
I want to touch on the whole player out there because I think a lot of people have asked about that. But just let's talk about pressure and how the team seems to deal with it or otherwise. I was looking at the results recently, and there's an argument here, Clive. There's an argument that says we've only turned up since we've been effectively taken out of or sort of shoved to the back of the title race since Swansea, since Man United and Swansea. We picked up Tottenham. We battled to a 2-2 draw. Everton 2-0 win away. Again 4-0 at home against Watford. It seems as though, and you touched on it, you're disappointed, you're hurt by seeing the team now and how it's playing now as opposed to what happened 3 months ago. Where were they 3 months ago? We've talked about mental strength in the past and the culture at the club, and it all seems to tie into seemingly ties into the fact that we just don't have it. We can't perform under pressure. This is the third time I think we've led the table at the 1st of January, and we've fallen away. Straight.
I tell you, when people say that, I don't want to believe them. Right? I say, what are you talking about? We'll be fine. And then you feel like, I just feel a little bit mugged, and I think, I've fallen for it again. I mean, seriously though, it's been an average league this year. We are a team that's pretty consistent. If we'd have been consistent as last year, we'd be in great shape. I just, I like to think that, I've watched Arsenal for many years, and I like to think I know what I'm looking at. But I just can't explain Swansea Old Trafford. I just have not got an explanation for it. And I still haven't. I've looked at them games. Just what happened? on those days. I mean, how can you, when you're a professional sportsman, have an opportunity that's so big in front of you, just go out there and lose both of those games? Even one win, just one win out of those, and we've been in such a different position right now. I can't explain that, but maybe we're focusing on those two games, but maybe in hindsight, the turning point of the season was Norwich away. Because we lost Sanchez with a hamstring injury, and we lost Cazorla. And it took us weeks to recover from Cazorla going out. And while we were watching the Ramsey family centre midfield, we were dropping points. Theo was doing his best to cover Sanchez on the left. Because he was covering Sanchez, we've really lost Theo as well. As a player, confidence-wise, he lost. So in hindsight, if I could change one game for the season, it would be Norwich away. Just making sure those two players got through that game without the injuries that they suffered. Because we're only now seeing Sanchez back to form. We haven't seen Cazorla since. And we've really missed the stability, the technical security that he provided. And only now have we seen El Neni come in. And it's interesting, yesterday he was in our top 3 passing combinations. He's doing the job what Cazorla did. Cazorla to Ozil was regularly our top passing combination. Yesterday it was El Neni to Ozil. 36 times they passed to each other. I mean, that is unbelievable. All right, so that is the job we've wanted. We're now getting the ball to our main man, and he's now running games. And good job for that game yesterday. I just feel really, really, really frustrated, while also happy to see a great game, but really frustrated.
Okay, I want to bring Jazz back in. So, Jazz, just want to get your opinion on how the team has dealt with, or otherwise, the pressure of being in a championship title race.
Yeah, I think we've been neck and neck with Leicester for pretty much most of the season. So, if you look back at November, December, we've had good results throughout, but we've just had those little roadblocks in between, like the game at Norwich, the 4-0 at Southampton, then coming into January with the draws at Stoke and Liverpool. So I'm not sure. It's hard to pinpoint where it's kind of we really started. It's kind of been stop-start throughout the season. I think there's a stat as well that we've our longest winning run throughout the season is 4 games. So that's well behind any other previous season under Wenger.
Indeed. Clive, do you want to answer that? I mean, it seems to be that, we've never really sort of strung a long, confident run at any point in the season. Which is really weird, because people have tweeted before, for a calendar year, Arsenal have collected the most points. I think for 2 calendar years in a row, but we can't seem to put it together from August to May when you need to put it together. Yeah,
I just think, I don't think we target things correctly. I think sometimes we just play. And, there are some games we just don't look as focused as we can do. It's interesting, actually. The 2 games I thought we were really super focused. Well, probably the 2 biggest home games was probably Man City at home. We looked really focused and coached, and we had a plan. And I know we lost the game to Barcelona, but until Oxlade-Chamberlain got himself injured and we lost our balance, we were really in that game. And really, that's the best Arsenal can do at the moment. And we look really focused. And if you want to win things, that focus has got to be there for West Brom away and Norwich at home. And if it isn't, you've got to create a base level. And Giles, you hear me talk about athleticism in our team, and I think if you're fit, athletic, your base level is higher. You can't be picked off. There's a level of mobility. There's a level of movement. I never worry about Arsenal's technique. I worry about our running ability. And I wrote a blog this week on Gunners Town talking about how many players we have in our team that are not good runners. And this is what Watford did. This is what Chelsea did. This is what teams do. They pick in our non-runners and they work on those spaces. They pick in our indiscipline. They pick in our lack of positional play, and they pick us off. You know, we're not physically daunting, so you can get at us, right? And so it's really interesting. This is probably our best patch of form, because I thought we were great at Spurs as well. And then even Barcelona away, we were decent. Everton, we were fantastic. And Watford, I mean, that's just ridiculous, some of the football we saw there. We played 681 passes in the game. It was bordering on boring. It was that good. You know, and you're looking at this and you're thinking, I can't see a weakness there. You know, we had a little bit of a shaky period, just after at 1-0 when they were just growing, and we just shut them down. We just shut them down, started moving the ball, and I do think it's, you know, my overriding emotion is why so late.
Okay, so before I come back to Jazz, talking about focus and what Ozil said in the week, I want to ask you, Clive. You said that we've lacked runners. The squad has been decimated by injury. Welbeck's a runner. We've missed Gabriel at times. Wenger hasn't chosen Gabriel at times. He hasn't chosen Iwobi until now. What's his name? Oxlade-Chamberlain's a runner, but hasn't been performing very well. Hardly plays more than a few games at a time. Is injured now. So is the injuries as well something to do with it in terms of, you know, running power and so on and so forth?
It's a big issue, right? You know, we haven't spoken about Jack Wilshere. And Football fans, we've got amazingly short memories, right? That's how we work. And we're all picking a team right now. And we could probably pick the team for West Ham, right? Probably Czech will come in, same team, done. And we want to see that team now for forever. It doesn't work like that. You know, we need to be looking at the profile of players that we need, and we need to make sure we have 2 of them for each position. And we can't have any weaknesses. We can't have any weaknesses physically, because one thing I said before, Giles, you know, there's a shortage of talent in world football, but there isn't a shortage of sports science. There are fitness coaches at every single club. They can measure physical output. They can train, you know, Spurs, Leicester, Bournemouth. They can train them hard. They're hard running teams. West Ham, another hard running team. And they can close the gap on the elite clubs. And you know, Man City, Man United, I think they've suffered physically through injury. We've suffered through injury. And these teams have taken points off of us. And I'm watching Leicester today, and I'll tell you now, that's not great, that football. But they're in the groove now. They're on the train tracks, right? They're in that groove. They're in the 1-0 groove. And they're probably going to win the league. And they're not the best team in the league, but they're the best team this season, you know, for being consistent. I hope we've learned a lesson. And I hope we're now going to get back to an Arsenal team that I recognise. And I'm watching them now with that centre midfield base, with, you know, great fullbacks, mobile, tricky forwards who are agile. And that's an Arsenal team for me. Centre halves that can run, head, kick.
Yeah.
They don't get running behind. That's what I want to see.
Okay. Jazz, I want to bring you back in. Focus. Clive said that there's a lack of focus, or, you know, there's an issue with focus. Ozil said earlier this week, before he was admonished by Wenger, that the team at times lacked focus. You think there's something in there?
Yeah, I think with Ozil, I think it wasn't like a scathing attack on the team. It was more like an honest assessment.
Mm-hmm.
And he really just said that we don't play to our potential against smaller teams. And he does have a point. If you look at the top 6 table against our nearest rivals, we're actually top of the league for the first time in God knows how many years. So we've done the job there. We've done the double over Leicester. We've pretty much beaten every top side that's come to the Emirates. And so if you look at it from that aspect, we really have just dropped the points where you'd expect us to pick them up. And I can understand why Arsene Wenger's kind of come out and told that is not the right thing to be saying at this time of the season, but you really do think that he has a point there.
Indeed. Okay, cool. All right, let's move it on. Keep it moving. I want to talk about, I suppose, with this whole thing about doping. Doping and in football that's been brought to light by the Sunday Times and a particular person, Dr. Bonner. The focus has been on Premier League football. I think something, I'm not sure, I haven't read the report, but I've seen Arsenal loosely linked to this sting. And Wenger said in September when, the Zagreb, after we played Zagreb and we lost, and there was a player from Zagreb that had been done for doping or something, I'm not sure. And then he said on the Friday, 10 officials or whatever came down from WADA to test his own players. Clive, how prevalent do you think doping, I mean, we're looking from the outside obviously, but how prevalent do you think doping is in football when you consider doping is prevalent in nearly every other sport today and has been prevalent and more so in the last how many years?
Yeah, I think football is a golden ticket, right? For those investigative journalists, they want to find a football story, right? So one of the other sports that I love, even though I don't look like one, is cycling, right? So I do a bit of cycling, and I know a bit about cycling history. And the Sunday Times were very prominent in, finding out what's happening with Lance Armstrong, David Walsh, Paul Kimmage. They were massively behind that, and football is the golden ticket. And if you look at it, and you look at the money, you look at the advantages to be gained, you say to yourself, isn't it strange that no high-profile footballer has ever been caught for performance-enhancing drugs?
Apart from Maradona, 20 years ago.
But what did he do? It was cocaine, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's a recreational drug, right? So if you think about it, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, right? It wouldn't surprise me if something's out there, but I'm not sure if it's at the top level of the game, but it wouldn't surprise me at a lower level of the game. And if things like, growth hormone, players getting to the right stature, to the right muscle building, and also drugs to help people recover from injury, it would not surprise me, and it just makes sense. If you just look at all the variables, the money to be gained, I don't think there's a massive drug testing culture in football, only at the very top level. But there's a journey to the top level, and how do you get there? All right, and people want that money. You're talking about life-changing contracts. It wouldn't surprise me. I haven't read the Sunday Times report massively, but I've always felt it. Right, there's almost like a legal supplementation that goes on in sport today. And I think football may be a touch behind on some of the things it allows. But yeah, we'll soon see. It wouldn't, in a few years' time, this is going to be a long-running story. And for Sunday Times to splash this, it wouldn't surprise me if there's going to be more revelations over the coming weeks. So what the Sundays do now, they give you a taster on week one, and then they give you another taster on week two, and they give you another, and then they hit you on week 4. Right? So I think the next coming weeks is going to be interesting to watch.
Indeed. Jazz, Guardiola's been tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. One of the Boers, I can't remember which one because they're twins, but one of them were tested positive for some sort of performance-enhancing drugs. Kolo Toure was found near £750,000 for taking some kind of supplement. Danny Mills has said previously that, club doctors do provide some kind of aid to recovery enhancing drug or medicine to their players, so it begs the question, people are dismissing what's been said now, but are you worried that there's the chances are that there are going to be some real big exposés coming up in the next few weeks about this?
It does seem strange that we're one of the top 3 clubs that linked. I think it's ours and Leicester name mainly in the hat. So I don't know. It does seem strange because Arsene Wenger's been one of the biggest advocates of this doping control for years now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So really, I'll be very surprised if we were at the forefront of it. If we were like the first team really to come out and be exposed for that. But you would have to say that if any story did come out revealing us as one of the clubs, you would be completely against it. You wouldn't want anyone involved out of the club, whether it's a player or anyone aiding it. You'd have to be completely against that.
Indeed.
I think it's quite interesting, Giles, that suddenly Leicester are at front. So that tells you, you know what, Leicester are at the top of the league. They'll create a headline. Let's create a little bit of doubt around their sudden rise. They're the perfect club to say is involved in this. I'm very sceptical about this, Doctor, but if you look at it in a general statement, football is a prime target for this. The rewards are greater than any other sport almost, apart from maybe golf and tennis. And so why wouldn't you? Do you see what I mean? And there's a lot of people that play football that may not be the most educated, may not have had the best backgrounds, and that can be easily influenced to get that critical edge, to get that critical contract, get that critical move. Yeah. And there's a lot of shady people around football, around footballers. So I do hope, I would like to, football needs to be serious about this and do a lot more blood testing and really get serious to block this off, because there's a lot of immoral people that surround footballers today.
I believe that blood spinning is not illegal in football. Is that right? Taking a sample of blood, keep it for 3 months, recycling it or whatever, and then put it back in the play system. So it means their performance is essentially enhanced. Is that right?
There were rumours. Yeah. There were rumours about Milan, wasn't there, many years ago? The old Milan lab. There were players there that went there at 32, and suddenly their running ability had improved at 32. Yeah. They had this group of 30 to 34-year-olds that won trophies. Yeah. And you do wonder a little bit, right? And I think there's a hidden story out there. I'm not sure about today's story, but I do think it's a topic that football needs to take seriously and block it off real quick.
Okay, right. Let's move on to listeners' questions now. We'll start with the first one. We may have covered it already, but let's start with the first one. That's from our friend Walid Omer at Walid Omer 159. Is there any way Ramsey can fit into the team currently, or should we cash in on him? Clive, very short answer before I go to Jazz with another question.
I'm 50-50 on it. I would, if Arsenal, if you said to me, we got to sell 2 players, the 2 I would choose would be Theo and Ramsey, but then it's all about how we replace them. And I do think potentially Ramsey's got his eyes elsewhere. And, so it wouldn't make me, cry myself to sleep, but if he stayed and we, it wouldn't bother me neither, because he's a good player.
Okay. Jazz at AFC_Ray asks, do we need a right winger or left winger next season? I think a right winger is easy to get, and he said E.G. Berardi. I'm not sure who Berardi is. Is he the one that plays in Italy?
I think for Sassuolo, I think. He's started to emerge for the national team as well.
Right. So what do you reckon, left or right wing for you?
Well, I'd say on the right wing we have, you'd say Alexis. It looks like he's the first choice of the right wing. You'd have Walcott there. You'd have, I think Ramsey's a definite option there. I think the left is looking a bit more bare at the moment, especially because we had Walcott filling in for large portions of the season. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Campbell can really play there. So we don't really have a definite option there at the left wing, apart from Iwobi coming in now. We don't have an established player that could really take up that role.
Okay, cool. Clive at Tell the Gooner asks, another season fallen by the wayside. Who will make necessary changes for us in summer? I don't know if you're talking about the administration or the squad. But
I for me this year, because we didn't do much on the pitch last summer, and if Wenger wants to keep fans anywhere near on side, and that's a debate in itself, he's got to make household changes to that squad. 6, 7, maybe upwards of that have got to go out. And this time we're not talking about, youngsters moving around, or we're talking about maybe a couple of stellar names going. And that's the only way you can get people on side, because I think people are bored of him, and they're bored of some of the players that we've seen, and they're bored of the repeat cycle. It's interesting. I'm watching El Neni, and I'm trying to watch him with, just normal eyes. Not just because he's new, but when I see him and how he's freshened up his team, 1 or 2 more like that would have not just freshened up the team, but maybe freshened up the squad and put them on a competition. So I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all. And that's the only way he's going to sustain any sort of support.
Okay, Jazz, a question for you comes from at Ms_T_P. She said, Arsenal need change. How do we do that without getting rid of the manager? Now, before you answer the question, I was watching the Man United Everton game. They opened Bobby Charlton stand, and they gave him fantastic reception to him. He's 60 years out of the club, man and boy. He's a club president. He's stuck by Alex Ferguson in the early days. You listen to what the players, how everybody speaks about him, how humble he is, how approachable he is. He's a Man United man. Do we need somebody like that or people like that around the club, around Wenger? We don't really seem to have anybody that embodies Arsenal.
I think at the highest level of the club, we don't really have any football men. And it really just seems like it's more like focus on the commercial side of the game. And I think we really do need some people that are emotionally invested in the club more than financially invested. I'm not sure where you'd start to look for these figures, but it does seem like we're crying out for someone there at the higher level, above the football level, just on that boardroom level.
Indeed. Clive, do you want to come in quickly on that?
Yeah, my thoughts there, mate.
Yeah.
We've got a gap in our hierarchy massively. I honestly believe that Arsenal are a sleeping giant. I've always said it. I don't think we've even touched our potential. We've got, in our recent history, we've got some major, massive players and massive personalities that seem to have been cast aside and are not allowed to join this football club. And if they were allowed to, I think we'd get bigger, we'd get stronger, and we'd become more global. And I just think we're a sleeping giant. I look at people like Bob Wilson and I think to myself, he's our Mr. Arsenal, isn't he? He is, right? He should be club president, right? Should be club president. What's wrong with that? He's perfect, right? And I just think we're just not being as big as we could be. And it always surprises me. Every time I go, I just look around and think, my God, this club is massive. And we haven't won that league for a long time. Imagine if we won the league. We just explode. We would just explode. And I just don't get it. We just seem so reticent to really be as big as we are. I don't understand why.
Okay, cool. All right, so I've got two questions here. One from Steve Neighbour, our friend, and one from at @SledDog_Gooner. And they're basically asking about the British tour. Now, Steve has asked, is it time to dismantle the British tour, move them on, and perhaps bring in younger overseas talent? The American Gunner, at @SledDog_Gooner, said, does the British score define what it is to be fundamentally Arsenal? Start with you, Clive, really quickly, if you can give a short answer of those two. Is it time to dismantle it and move them on for other kids? And then to you, Jazz.
Yeah, it doesn't, we've missed a couple, right? Jack's not been there. Huge miss. Jenks has got himself injured. We don't know what he's going to be. I would just like to see the British squad play better. They're good players. They've done it in the past. They've stopped doing it. And we're looking at Spurs. We're looking at Leicester. We're looking at their English players and we're thinking, hold on, what's happened to ours? So I think maybe we're judging them through those eyes.
Okay, cool. Jazz, does the British core define what it is to be fundamentally Arsenal?
I think to a certain extent, yeah. I think I agree with Clive that there are players there that they've all had their moments, they've had their patches of form, but I think they all still have a part to play in the club. You look at, especially Wilshere, you look at Oxlade-Chamberlain. I think we barely scratched the surface with them, really, as to how much we can get out of them if we can give them a run at the team.
Okay, coolio. Good stuff, lads. Okay, so final question from me. I'm going to ask you both a question. Short answer, really short answer. One player you'd sell, Clive. One player you'd sell. Don't give me your reasons why, just give me your answer, your name.
Well, I've got a few reasons. I'm only joking. Yeah, the player I would sell would be Theo Walcott.
Okay. Jazz, player you'd sell.
I've got to agree with that, Theo Walcott.
Okay. The position we most need to buy. Jazz.
It's tricky. I think it might sound a bit generic, but I'd say the centre forward position. We've been crying out for that mobile, that 30 goal a season striker. I don't know if there is one out there at the moment that's available at a realistic price that would want to come to our club, but I don't think either Welbeck or Giroud, they both have great runs of form, but over an entire season, I don't think either of them can be relied upon to score regularly.
Cool. Clive?
Yeah, I want to be different, but I can't, right? We need a centre forward. We need another one. I think Welbeck could do a great job on the left as well, but I don't think he's a 30 game a season centre forward. I think he's an occasional centre forward, especially away from home. At home, I think we need something else. And I do think that Welbeck is a great player for us, but he's not my number one centre forward, so that's what we need to do.
Julio. All right, I want to thank you both for coming on and joining me tonight. I want to thank everybody, all the listeners, for the listeners' questions. Again, you can find us on all the platforms, including Acast, Stitcher, Player FM for all those people that use Android phones. Hopefully now we've got a week off. We look ahead to a big game against West Ham. They're there without Kouyaté, which could be a massive bonus for us.
Yeah,
but we've got to make sure we don't get any, give any stupid fouls around our box, because I tell you what, that guy, Payet's free kicks are ridiculous, So.
Yeah, don't worry, we're winning that game. We're winning that game.
Yeah. Guys, what do you reckon? Win, lose or draw?
I'd say win, the way we're playing at the moment. Even though West Ham, they gave away that late goal yesterday. I think we'll win.
Coolio, and obviously, Clive, you said you win.
Yeah, we're better away from home. We're going to win. This is going to be a slaughtering. You heard it here first.
Wow. And that's not the rum talking. All right, guys. Thanks for coming on, guys. That's been a Gooner Ramble podcast. I'm your host, Giles. Have a great weekend. Up the Arsenal. Good night.